for that, I always encourage people to check out a pretty cool comic book company called the Rippaverse. First comic you should get would be either Alpha Core #1 or, hold on a second, ISOM #2. From what I've heard from ISOM #1, it's something that I wasn't really interested to pick up, but I'm glad that I got ISOM #2. I got that for free because I bought a big bulk of Rippaverse comic books. ISOM #2 has great action, great pacing, great characters, and I would like to check out the side characters, or I don't know if it's even proper to call them side characters. They got their own comic books and whatnot, like Gooding and Bloodroof. Bloodroof, yes. Bloodroof is a voodoo witch lady who can do blood magic. Ooh. They got a black and white version of that comic book, and that's the one that I wanted to get for a while now. But there are some other comic books I'm interested in, so I'm gonna put that on hold for a minute. And if you want to check out an alternative to the Punisher for one reason or another, you should check out the Horseman. I'm not a big fan of the first issue. I'm a big fan of Horseman Welcome to Florist Park. That's a different one. It's like a prequel comic. Horseman Welcome to Florist Park. Hell yeah. This is the one. If you want an alternative to the Punisher, check this one out. And if you want to read up on the future of the Horseman, I think it's fine to skip Horseman #1 and just go directly into Horseman #2. Horseman #2, that's the comic book that gives me also a big Punisher vibe, and the pacing isn't that bad. But now it's just the question, how will they continue this story? I hope that they gonna keep on putting action over exposition like they did with Horseman #2 and Welcome to Florist Park. And I would like to see the Horsemen kill some of the super mutants. So like the super mutants of the Rippaverse are the excerpts. Excerpts are superhuman beings that are, I don't want to say it, but it's just something that I always think about. They're like mutants in X-Men, but they have a different type of origin. At least I think so. I'm not sure. And what can I say? It's, you know what? It's enjoyable. It's not a ripoff. It is not too similar to X-Men, except some parts of the comic book Great War of Separation. Something that you should check out if you like the world of the Rippaverse. And if you want to see what transpired to make Texas this independent country or nation, or it's a state that kind of broke off from the United States and it formed its own thing. Like, I forgot what exactly you call it. Maybe a nation state, I'm not sure. But Texas had this great war of separation with the other parts of the US, and a lot of shit transpired and a lot of cool stuff goes down. So if you're interested in stuff like that, I would say it's like a civil war. Wait a minute. It's like a civil war, but light. I mean, not Bud Light, I mean Bud Light. Light as in a smaller version of that. There's another issue of that coming out, if it doesn't have already, by the time I record this live stream, but that's out there. If you're a comic book reader, you need to check out the Rippaverse. They have at least one comic book you're interested in. And outside of that, some of the recommendations that I have are mostly about older comic books, like The Death of Superman. Let me just show it to you instead of pointing at it. Ta-da. A comic book that makes me wonder if we should even call the golden age of comics... Whoops, wrong. If we should call the golden age of comics the time period that we prescribe it to. No, look at this. Jesus. This is freaking beautiful. The Death of Superman. This is art right here. And history too. Now, as far as new comic books coming out, they don't look as interesting to me as the old stuff. I'm not saying they're bad. I'm saying they just look they look like they appeal to a different audience. Like, I'm not the type of guy who wants to see Batman chop people up and all that, and that's what he does in the Absolute universe. I'm not a big fan of that. I might check out Absolute Superman because his story is his story and his abilities are something that interests me for now. When it comes to Wonder Woman, I like what they did with her, but I'm not gonna check out her comic book because there are some other runs of Wonder Woman that I would like to check out. Like, I have not finished the All-Star category of DC Comics. I think it was All-Star. And I think they also had Wonder Woman in there. And that's the type of Wonder Woman that I would like to check out because I saw her in All-Star Batman. Yep. As far as Green Lantern is concerned, I would love to check out the Absolute Green Lantern because it appears new to me. It appears unique. And we got a new Green Lantern. I don't know what her name is, but I'm sure I find out when I read the comic book. And when it comes to the Absolute Martian Manhunter, the artist, I love the psychedelic style and whatnot. It's usually not my cup of tea, but I've heard so many great things about this book. I might check it out. But the next comics that I tried to get from the Rippaverse because I'm interested in Great War of Separation 3, in Salvage, the Private Investigator, and there was another one that I forgot about. It was something that looked like Weapon X or something like futuristic soldiers and whatnot. And maybe Death Shroud. Death Shroud is a comic book that I thought captured my attention during the trailers that I watched. I'm glad that the Rippaverse is making all these trailers and whatnot. Now, and one other franchise that I would recommend because there is no reason not to read it is Spawn. I got the omnibus right over there. It's so heavy, don't want to pick it up, but Spawn, especially the Satan Saga, I actually really enjoyed this one. The art style is very aggressive, I would call it. You have so much going on at the same time, and the quality is good. I like the art style. I've even put a bunch of post-its on there so I can just study it, because for a while I was trying to get into comic books myself, but I like to talk more than I like to draw. Yeah, I love to hear myself talk. So, but as far as Spawn is concerned, that's a great. It's not a great point to start, but because there's so much going on that you won't understand. But I love this comic book so much that I would recommend it. Or you get the omnibus if you're already interested in the older stuff, in the original Spawn from the 80s and 90s. Get the omnibus. The art is something that should be at some points in the comic. You should put that art freaking in a museum. Yep. Those are my thoughts on the comic books. and always happy to hear about what y'all think about it. Comic book. All right, we are back on track. I'm pretty glad that I got the overlays to work. I thought I would never figure it out, but I guess I did. Woohoo! Now, as far as my interests are concerned, it is really the subject of art that fascinates me. There's something very human about whatever you create with intent. There's only so much you can do with the medium that you're given, and you try to do the best you can. And that's how we got comic books. This is how we got freaking Frank Miller's work on Sin City. We got McNeven, absolute genius. I mean, just look at this. This is the type of stuff that inspires you to do your own stuff. This is what you want to achieve. This is the art level that you want to get to one day. And this man, he just figured it out. He just figured out art. McNiven, absolute legend. So, and as far as the Rippaverse is concerned, my favorite artist there, of course, is Joe Bennett. Freaking badass. He drew Zaylan. He drew the Horseman. And it is the art primarily that makes me read those comic books. It's just a combination of beautiful things. Very beautiful things. The action looks great. The framing of the different scenes is perfectly laid out. There isn't a lot of yapping going on in the books, which I really enjoy. They show and do not tell. That's what I like about the Rippaverse comics. Because you have some individuals like Brian Michael Bendis who try to explore their world through speech in such a manner that there is so much talk. Now, this is something that I actually do not like about the Spider-Man run that he had in the 2000s. I also own an omnibus version of that. Even though the art is fucking phenomenal, I don't know who the artist was, but or the artists, but the art style. This is the type of stuff that got me into creating comics, trying to create comics. Now, you can always just try, right? One day I'm gonna make my own. One day I'm gonna make my own comic book. I'm gonna write it probably, because there are so many talented artists out there. They're gonna be up and inspiring, and I'm gonna make sure that I will keep in contact with some of the people that I've been talking to. So big things are planned. Big things are gonna happen. It isn't just the art that I'm making that I want to promote, but I would love to promote the art of other artists too, like comic books and whatnot. But there's always the risk that something is stolen, and I get that. I understand it. However, somehow you got to put yourself out there, and I'm at the point where I want to put myself out there. I want to show the world who I am, and maybe, just maybe, I inspire someone to create something freaking beautiful. Especially if it's something punk, that would be pretty damn awesome. As far as punk music is concerned, I would just blast Combi Christ the entire day as I stream. However, that would get me copyright struck, and I don't want that. Maybe one day if I decide I was wronged or something by Twitch and I want to have a big, destructive, just self-destructive stream or something like that, yeah, I'm gonna play copyrighted music so loud, so great, so grand that my channel gonna get taken down. But That's like the panic button. It's the red button, the nuclear option. I hope I do not ever have to use this. Talking about something that I actually do not want to use. I freaking hate my setup right now, but there are good things coming in the future, and I hope that I can upgrade my setup just a little bit to get a second monitor hooked up so I can monitor, yeah, pun intended, my stream while also playing a game and all that jazz. So yeah, I'm an aspiring Twitch streamer, and I would really love to make it on Twitch because it is so difficult. I don't know if I'm gonna make it, but maybe, just maybe. Yeah, I am gonna label this a podcast and just upload it to YouTube, I think. Well, I hope it records properly and doesn't give me any troubles. So the music I got playing in the background, by the way, is from Stream Tunes. So Stream Tunes is a music provider that says there's not gonna be any copyright problems if you use their music, so I'm gonna use their music, and I'm gonna use their music while I'm gonna talk about more comic books. Back on subject, Captain freaking America. This book is pretty mid. I like it though. I like it. The heroism of Steve Rogers is a bit too underscored when it comes to his earlier age and how weak he was and all that. It gets a bit cliche after a while. We know he's an underdog, but him taking on a bunch of people or driving a nuclear bomb off a freaking harbor to save everybody, that's something that Captain America does, not Steve Rogers. So I thought that was a bit much, but they explore some enemies, some characters that I just thought were interesting ideas, like the incarnation of evil and whatnot. Being interested in getting people like Jesus Christ not to spawn into the world. And I'm not kidding, that's a plot. It's a bit too there's quite a lot to unpack here, but to keep it simple, this is a comic book about Steve Rogers and how he came up and how he became the Captain America, but it is also exploring how even though he was weak and brittle, he was a hero since day one. A man with great morals. He was a hard worker too. He was the American dream. Well, science kind of gave him the American dream part, but yeah. No need to harp on that. So Great War of Separation. Let's get back to this one because I thought that was a bit interesting. Just a little bit. Yeah, I'm kidding. It was awesome. This is the type of stuff that reminds you of X-Men, but it's not bad at all. It's a comic book. There are people with superpowers. Get over it. The art is great. The cover art is what sold me the second one. I'm glad that I picked up the second one too. And something also very, very charming about these comic books is there's always a foreword from the author. So you can connect with the authors on a deeper level, really, because they share their thoughts and their beliefs. And what the Rippaverse does that no one else does is, I mean, just recently the head of the Rippaverse came out and said comic books shouldn't be political, or not everything should be political. Removing yourself from the political side and just creating something that people enjoy, that's what the Rippaverse is about. Even though, yes, the Great War of Separation is about Texas branching off from the United States and becoming its own independent entity. That is political to a degree, but what is the saying? Art imitates life, and there is just there is a plot that is being explored through certain concepts like cartels at the border, like American maybe over intervening in foreign nations. That's something that I interpret out of the comic book, going a bit too far with the whole patriotism and whatnot, and also disregarding chain of command. That is quite the big part of the comic. It's not really, I would say it's not really given the attention that it needed. And I just find it very interesting that in this world, the entirety of Texas seems to be behind that idea of becoming its own state. Now, they got their own military, and then the national military is just being dropped in and causes quite a lot of damage, not only to infrastructure, but also people. This is the small rundown of what happens. So, if you can get past the idea that this might be a reference to something, and if you just want to enjoy a story for the sake of the story, not because of what political climate we live in, you're gonna enjoy this one. And I mean, even if you don't, there are other characters out there that just don't deal with those heavy subject matters. So there's action, there's violence if you want it, there is, and first and foremost, it's a comic book. There's great art. There is phenomenal art. Joe Bennett is just delivering every single time. There are some other artists like on the Great War of Separation. There are other artists working on it. And the different covers, I love it. I love the variants. I've never thought about getting variant covers or multiple comic books of the same kind just so I can get the covers, but the rippaverse got me pretty interested. I'm not the type of guy who buys floppy comics, or the, for those of you who don't know what the floppy is, this is a floppy, just a single issue comic book printed like a magazine, like a standard magazine. And then we got something that's just a collector's story, but it isn't an omnibus. It isn't just a paperback. It's freaking, I don't know if it has a specific designation, but it's a good read and a good amount to read for the value of money that you pay. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to check out my Twitch. I stream there every single day except Tuesdays and Sundays.